Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be installing the one finger clutch adapter from Camel ADV on the 2023 KTM 890 Adventure R. Now, KTM still uses a cable actuated clutch on the 890 series of motorcycles that they produce. And the one drawback to a cable actuated clutch is that the weight of the clutch pull is actually quite a bit heavier than a hydraulic clutch. And if you're going to be doing any technical off-road riding, right, where you're going slow, maneuvering around rocks, switchbacks, things like that, where you're on and off the clutch quite a bit, it's really going to wear out your hand. You're going to get some arm pump. Your fingers are going to get tired after a little while. And according to Camel ADV, the one finger clutch mechanism that they sell reduces clutch pull by up to 30% and increases your friction zone by up to 60%. And the way that they do that is by lengthening the arm on the clutch actuator here down on the side of the motor, okay? And like Archimedes once said, if you give me a lever long enough, I can move the world. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but you get the point. Now in the kit, you get everything that you need to install this, including the cable pivot pin, the cable guide that mounts to the motor, as well as the new clutch lever arm. Now you can see that this new arm from Camel ADV is quite a bit longer than the factory piece, okay? And what that's gonna give you is a wider arc, which makes it less poundage of pull on the cable, the clutch cable itself. Okay, so with regard to the new cable guide that comes with the kit, if you're thinking you can just use your old cable guide and just leave it on the bike, you cannot, okay? This one has a little bit different angle on it that allows for that increased angle of play on the cable with respect to how it attaches to the new Camel clutch lever, okay, or clutch arm. And you can see that as we mount this, there's the hole on the right is oblong to allow you to pivot the cable guide as needed. The only tools we're going to need for this is a flathead screwdriver, and that is to set the clutch activation bar or actuation bar, T30 Torx and socket wrench, and an 8mm wrench to remove the bolts that are holding on the cable guide. However, you can use the same Torx T30 for the cable guide bolts as well if you choose to do that. All right, the first thing that we want to do is we want to remove the clutch arm from the shaft itself, okay? But before I do that, what I'm going to do is make a little mark on the bolt here on the screw, lining it up with the pinch point on the arm right here, okay? So that when I put the new one on, I've got a general or rough spot to place it back on. It's not essential. If you don't do it, it's not a big deal. Just makes it a little bit easier. And you'll see why here in just a second. I'm going to take my T30 Torx and undo this bolt. That should allow me to pull this off. Take this clevis off of the cable, and we're going to remove this rubber boot and pull it off the cable. And if you're having a hard time getting the boot to come off the cable, you can put a little bit of grease or oil on the ball of the cable. That way you don't cut the rubber boot. I think we can just pull it off like that, and I'll just pop it back inside out or right side again. And we're going to replace this here shortly, but for right now, we have to get this cable out of the cable guide, okay? And I know I said that we were only going to use 3 tools for this, but I forgot about the lock nuts on the cable, and that is a 12mm. So what I'm going to do is loosen this guy and then spin this off, okay? So now I'm going to loosen up these bolts on the cable guide. I'm just going to use the ratchet now to get it the rest of the way off. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is pull this bracket through the cable. And before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and twist this bolt on just a little bit, put it back where it was before I took it off, okay? And that's all there is to disassembling it. All right, guys, when it comes to installing the clutch arm back on there, you can see that there's 3 holes in here, okay? If you go to the closest hole to the pivot point, you will get the heaviest pull, middle less, and then the furthest outside is going to give you the least amount of pull and should give you the most amount of clutch friction zone, okay? If you recall, I made a mark on the clutch shaft here prior to removing the old clutch lever. And when I had marked it, it was kind of over in this about the 12 o'clock position, and you can see now it's about the 2 o'clock position, okay? So when I put the clutch arm back on in the way that it was on, I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, I hope you can, but the clutch arm is going to be about like here, and you can see this is the pinch point that I lined up the mark with, and here's the mark over here, all right? And the reason for that is it's spring loaded inside that shaft. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the shaft like so, and then put this on there, okay? For right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the clutch cable guide back on the motor, and then we'll get into how to set this up. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put this clutch cable guide that comes in the kit. I'm going to install this back on the motor, okay? So I'll just run the clutch and the screw portion back through there. And you're going to want to make sure, use a little bit of Loctite on these guys so that they don't rattle back out of the motor down the road, okay? And then I'm going to snug down the left side one and leave, but not tighten it, because it's going to have to pivot once we get the arm set in there, okay? Just to get it completely lined up so that there's no binding. What I'll do now is I'll put the adjusting nut back on the threaded barrel, and this is where we're going to do most of our major adjusting from, the larger portions, and then we'll do the more fine tuning up on the clutch lever on the handlebars. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put this rubber boot back on, okay? You want to put this boot back on because that's going to keep dirt, grime, grease, water, etc. from getting up here in the cable. Now, obviously, the cable will move or push in, right? So we don't want that. So one thing you can do is taking a vice grip, but you don't want to squeeze the cable super tight. You just want to keep it from going anywhere. So just put a little bit of a pinch on it. Okay, and that'll keep the cable from pushing back in to the housing. And we're just going to slip this back on. Okay, there we go. And then we're just going to work this over the threaded barrel. Okay, that's just going to keep any junk out of the cable housing there, all right? All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set our cable pivot attachment here onto the arm. I'm going to put mine in the center position. Okay, and again, you know, check it out. If it's not what you're liking, then you can always pull it off and reposition it, okay? Now I'm gonna put the cotter pin through the pivot pin here. And I'm just gonna give it one bend on one piece of the pin so that if I am needing to if I do need to adjust it, I can hopefully save the pin, yeah? All right, so that's good for now. Then we're gonna put in our bolt for the pinch pin here. Okay, and that is also an 8mm, like the factory pieces. Okay, so now once I've got this mounted up on here, I'm gonna go ahead and hook it onto the cable. Okay, I'm gonna set my arm down on the shaft, and I'm gonna turn this bolt so that my line matches up with the pivot point. And then I'm gonna snug this down. Okay, so now that I've got my Camel ADV one finger clutch lever secured and tightened down here, the next thing I wanna do is I wanna tighten down my cable guide, okay? And if you can see it, it's not quite straight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust this so that there's a straight clutch pull, right? Just about like that. I'm gonna put my camera down and tighten these bolts up real quick, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so I've tightened down these two bolts. You can see that the cable looks very straight going in. I don't have very much play in the clutch lever. In fact, I may not have enough here at all. But what I'm gonna do now is we'll walk up to the clutch lever and see what kind of free play we have there. And when you're adjusting this clutch lever, remember that this part here, where my finger is, this is just the adjustment for your the length of pull on your clutch lever, okay? What we're looking for is between this black clutch bracket here and the end of the clutch lever itself, okay? So that's about the right amount of clutch play, okay? I think that'll be good. I'm not gonna mess with anything right now, but if I find that it's a little bit sloppy, I can always just kind of tighten it up a little bit on the handlebar here. But I can tell you right now, having it in the middle position, my clutch, oh man, it is so much lighter than it was before. Really it's really gonna help when we're out there doing those technical hill climbs and you know, going over obstacles and stuff like that, and you're constantly using the clutch. Okay guys, so there you have it, a better clutch in about 10 minutes. This is probably one of the smallest tweaks or upgrades that I'm gonna be doing to the 890 Adventure, but also probably one of the most important, okay? And I also really like the look of that arm. And you know, it matches perfectly with the foot pegs that I put on the other day. The install was super easy. Just remember that when you pull the old clutch lever or clutch arm off of the clutch shaft that goes into the motor, it has a spring inside of it that resets it clockwise, okay? So either put a little bit of a mark where it was, you know, to line it up with the pinch point on the factory clutch bar or clutch lever, or just remember when you put the new one on, use a screwdriver, set that clutch shaft counterclockwise as far as it will go, and then put your Camel ADV one finger clutch lever on and tighten it down, okay? Don't forget to use Loctite on all of the bolts that you removed, and don't forget to put that little rubber boot back on the cable. It can be a little bit of a pain. You can put a little bit of silicone grease on the ball of the clutch cable. That'll make it slide a little bit easier. Tighten everything up the way it's supposed to be, and you're ready to rock. Okay guys, that's it for this video, a better clutch in 10 minutes. If you liked it, please give me a great big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get alerted anytime I put out new content. And if there's anything in the video that was unclear or you'd like to see a little bit better, hit me up in the comment section. Let me know. I am more than happy to adjust. And other than that, have a great day, and I hope to see you guys out on the trail.